Hey everybody, we're trying something new today on the channel. Let me know if you want to see more of this, but this company, AISLPC, reached out to me asking if I wanted to review one of their handhelds. And you may not know this, but I am a really big fan of retro handheld stuff. Shoutouts to Wolfden and Retro Game Core. They're great. So obviously I jumped at the chance when they said they wanted to send me the RG43H Pro. And so that's what we're looking at today. Now, just to get started here, this is the box. There's not too much in here when you open it up. You've got the actual unit itself. It comes with a screen protector and everything you would need to put the screen protector on. And I forgot to put it back in the box for this, but it also comes with a USB-C cable to charge it with. Now, moving on from the unboxing experience, we've got the actual unit itself. First things first, the whole unit is plastic. It's a decent feeling plastic, but don't expect any like super high quality materials here, which does make sense. It's more of a budget device. The actual shape is really nice, like it's very ergonomic feeling, which with a lot of the more budget devices, you'll see more of just like kind of a rectangle, whether it's, you know, vertical or horizontal. This does have like actual nice grips to it, which I do appreciate, and it does make it feel like I can sit down and play this for a longer amount of time. Though there are a few caveats to that. First of all, as you'll see here, it's got a 4x3 screen, which at first when I saw that, I was like, this is going to be fantastic for playing retro games. I've been looking for something for NES, SNES, Genesis, things like that. But as you can see, up here in sort of the top left position, which is with a handheld is kind of like the sort of primary position, you've got a analog stick and not the D-pad, which is down on the bottom left, which is not great for doing any sort of 2D stuff. I know that, you know, you can play 2D games with an analog stick. I've done it before. I've seen some people that prefer it. It's not for me. So having the D-pad on the bottom is not the best experience. The second issue with the D-pad is the actual D-pad itself. Obviously, it being on the bottom, not great. You kind of have to shift your hand. It's not quite as comfortable to hold, but the actual D-pad itself just doesn't feel fantastic. It doesn't feel bad. Like, I don't have any missed inputs or anything when I'm playing. Everything plays fine. But it's just sort of mushy feeling. The best way I can sort of get it across is just by having you hear how it sounds to press. I don't know, it's not usable. It is fine. I was able to play games with it just fine, but it's not my favorite feeling D-pad in the world. And of course, that position for the D-pad, it just makes it so you can't play using the D-pad for quite as long, though it's not as bad as the right stick being on the bottom, though, you know, obviously you want the buttons on top, but that right stick, especially if you're trying to play anything that's like going to require dual sticks, it's not usable, not for a long amount of time. It is so uncomfortable to go to that thing. You might as well just treat it as if it's not there at all. And just to touch on the other bits of the controls, the face buttons have that same sort of mushy feel that the D-pad does, though I find it's not quite as much of a problem. It's like a looser Xbox button, if that makes any sense, which is fine for a face button and not so great for a D-pad. The triggers and the shoulder buttons are really clicky. Not necessarily a problem. I guess maybe if you wanted analog triggers, they don't have it. But I also don't necessarily know why you would want them for the systems that this thing can play. And just like one last little nitpick, it's not the biggest problem in the world, but the speaker is on the back of the device, which means that at all times sound is blasting away from you. It gets loud enough that if you're playing in a space where there's no other people around, you can just kind of crank it and it's not a problem, but if you are playing in a space where there are other people around, they're going to be hearing your game much louder than you are, which can be an issue. Anyway, moving on from the hardware of the device, we're going to go to the software. This has two different front ends on it, which are easy enough to switch between. This is my preferred one. that it comes with. Emulation performance is not an issue at all, really. Here, you've got all your retro systems. You can do PS1, N64 runs decently. Even Dreamcast seems to be running with no problems. The device, especially in its manual, like, really wants you to know that it can run not only PSP, but the God of War PSP games. It does play them. I'll just let you see this footage and see if you can describe this as playable. There's lag spikes, the audio's crackling and slowing down. I think I could play through the game this way. It may even get better later into the game, but I don't know. I would not play through the game this way. But I'm sure plenty of people would find it playable. But just know, like, maybe for lower intensity PSP games, you'll have a fine time. But for the more intense PSP games, it may vary on a case-by-case basis. It's also important to note that all of these games come on the device, which, you know, for somebody who's just buying a retro handheld, they want to play some old games, that's fine. A lot of these games are, you know, copyrighted, and this is technically piracy, and I just really don't like it when companies do this. And clearly they also know that they shouldn't be doing it, because this ships with no Nintendo games on it. 0 Nintendo games. So obviously they know it's somewhat of a problem, but as long as it's not Nintendo, it's probably fine. And honestly, with how many of these devices I've gotten in the past from various different companies, they're probably right. But it's just important to note. Another thing that's important to note, and this I have had happen to me on other retro handheld devices I've gotten in the past, the SD card failed on me. All of this footage that you've seen is pre-SD card failure. This is definitely something you want to be aware of when you get one of these, and, you know, maybe you're going to want to instantly replace the SD card so you don't lose, like, your saves and things like that, because this can happen. I've had it happen to me before. It's been a while. It's been maybe a year and a half or so since I've had an SD card fail on me that came with one of these, but this one did. And that is not a great thing to happen. I guess it's good that it happened right here at the start. I didn't have too much stuff on here, and it gave me an opportunity to go in and look at custom OSs that the community has developed, and we've got Dark OS, which I went ahead and flashed onto here. Typically with a custom OS, the reason you'd use it is maybe you want better performance out of emulators, or maybe you just don't like the look and feel of the OS that's on there. I didn't really have any of those issues. I'm not seeing any better performance with Dark OS, but it is an option if you want to change to it. And one last thing that's important to note is when I was doing my research on this device before it came in the mail, it looks like earlier shipments of this device came with 2 gigs of RAM, and now they only come with 1 gig of RAM. I don't know if there was any, like, official major, like, announcement of that, but if you want to get this and maybe play some games on Portmaster, and for those that aren't aware, Portmaster is like playing PC games that have been ported to run on the versions of Linux that these kind of devices run. Be aware that you're running on 1 gig of RAM, because there is information out there that says it has 2 gigs of RAM, and that doesn't seem to be the case anymore. Anyway, overall thoughts, this device is perfectly fine for a budget handheld, especially if you're wanting to do 4x3 gameplay on, like, PS1, Dreamcast, you know, N64. Having that analog stick up there really makes it great for those systems. If you're somebody that's okay with playing 2 games with an analog stick, this one works just fine. So you can do that, but if you are a D-pad person, you might want to stay away from this. There's also the price, which on Amazon and on their official website, they have it for about $100, which is kind of high for a device like this, but I have seen it on AliExpress for about $60, so I'll put all of those links in the description, so if you do want to go for it, you can see all of those and decide if it's worth it to you. Overall, though, it's a perfectly reasonable device for PS1 and back and some PSP. So if you're looking for something like that and you like this form factor, like I said, it's very comfortable to hold. This could be it for you. But if you are wanting to be more D-pad focused, I'd maybe stay away. Anyway, this is the first sort of like review I've done on this channel. Let me know in the comments if you enjoyed this, if you want to see more of it. And to AISLPC, thank you so much for sending this out, and I will see you next time.